So please welcome to the stage Sylvester McCoy and Sean Astin.
It's my favorite book ever. I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees. The truffle trees. You do?
It's actually just 45 minutes of sound effects, guys, if that's okay with you.
Hello.
Okay, so as you know, this is a question and answer session. Let's talk about all things Tolkien. Let's have some questions. Yeah, let's start right in the front then.
Sean, I have a question to you. How much is Sam still in your life this day?
How much is Sam still in my life? Is it a girlfriend? Samuel. Boyfriend. You know, I think Sam shows up when he's meant to. Wizards. Yeah, I think Sam shows up when he's meant to. Is that something smelling? Hello? Hey, you moved away. Hello. Sorry. Yeah, you know, I mean, yeah. He's there when I need him. My son is called Sam, and he's there when I need him. How old? 40. So he's the real Sam. Yes. He's just out there shooting something. Shh. Oh, I'm watching. You can't see it. It's wrestling. Oh, right. No, you just come this way a little bit. There, you see them. Right. Yeah. And then yeah. And they're gonna do it. I guess spring them. It's the Irish way. We like doing a question and answer in an open hall because it creates intimacy. Do you know that word here? In Amsterdam, they know about intimacy. We know everything about English. I rented a moped, and I was driving the moped all over the city for 2 days. So much fun. These people are insane, the way they deal with it. You think, here's a lane meant for bicycles and mopeds. Forget about being a pedestrian, mate. You get killed. Absolutely killed. How many did you kill then on your moped? None that I care to mention, but there was a couple of close calls. I'm not gonna lie. So, but you see things, and when you're driving in Amsterdam, every now and then you go through a cloud, and you're happy. Yes. Woo, man, the city the colors are so bright, man. Awesome. Anyhow, what were we talking about? Oh, you're Sam. Hi, Sam. So we've done Sam. And the son of Sam, that was a word. I've done Sam. You've done Sam. I did Sam. Yes, you did Sam. Yes.
Should we have another question? I have tried to tell the wrestlers to stop wrestling, but you can imagine how that went down.
Could you just tell those people how to stop talking? Hello. Yes. Now, what can you hear from up there? Absolutely nothing. Shite. Pretend that that's not happening. Hard to pretend that, but I don't pretend that. So basically, you know the movie he's talking about, The Goonies, is the movie we did as a kids adventure film in the mid-'80s, and the popularity of it has continued to grow. It was a Steven Spielberg movie, and it made $100 million, but it was nowhere near as successful then, 30 years ago, as it is today. People come up with tattoos all over them, and so what made The Goonies really special was it wasn't just improvisation, it was chaos. It was welcome chaos. I mean, I remember when I saw the movie, I was a little disappointed because you almost can't make out the dialogue because all 7 kids are talking at the same time. And when things would happen, they would just let it happen. You know, there's a million mistakes all over the movies, and people wonder why there hasn't been a sequel. And I think they would never allow today a big budget movie to be filmed with such kind of imperfection. They edit out an octopus sequence, but they still make a prominent reference to the octopus sequence. Oh, the octopus is very scary. I'm thinking, what octopus? And I was in the movie. It's not in the movie. So the director's attitude was to let us be us. There was very little direction. Mostly, with his barrel-chested Richard Donner, who did the Lethal Weapon movies, Lady Hawk, my favorite, and The Omen, and Superman. He directed The Goonies, and he would just yell at us, but not acting. You know, come on kids, hip hop, if you can't see the camera, they can't see you, hip hop. So you just ended up doing, you know, whatever, we do whatever, and then that's what's in the movie, whatever.
It's always the part really good, because there are moments that it feels like complete chaos, but then everything moves back into the scene and back into the narrative of the story.
Well, there were things that were special to him, and things that were special to Steven. And so when the movie slows down all of a sudden, when there's One-Eyed Willie, or when there's a moment with Mouth and the Wishing Well, all of a sudden, yeah, you're right, that chaos does die down. And there were special moments. But really, they chose us well. You know, it was good casting. Everybody kind of brought their own thing to, oh, thank God. All right, but I appreciate the question. And just cast well and get out of their way. That's my advice to you as a filmmaker.
Thank you.
Can I ask both of you
Absolutely.
what it was like working with Peter Jackson? Because obviously, for yourself, Sean, Peter's most famous film before that was Bad Taste. Whereas with you, Sylvester, you'd already done Lord of the Rings. So just be interested on your experience of working with him, whether he developed as well.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, when I arrived in New Zealand, I went up to him and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the director is?" Because he's just nowhere like a director. He's just a bloke, a really nice bloke. And he sits in a tent watching all the screens, and he talks on the microphone, and he just got on with it really. And yeah, it was a joy.
He also did Heavenly Creatures, which is what really brought him to prominence in the kind of critical filmmaking community, because it was really powerful story between those two young girls and the murder and all that.
Yeah.
And then he did The Frighteners, which was a big special effects movie. It didn't do very well. My father was in it. He played the judge, who's dead 100 years or something like that. So he had all of his prosthetic makeup with his jaw sticking out and his bloodhound dog that had been dead 100 years. And so they knew who I was years before Lord of the Rings, they being Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh. And I remember them calling me from their garage where they watched a movie, Rudy, that I had done, a movie called Rudy, an American football movie. And so when it came time to work with him, yeah, it was like being with your brother or something like that, you know? There's only one time ever that I remember he gave me a note that was, you know, a correction. No, it was a great note. It hurt, but it was a great note. He very, very simply just said, after one moment in a scene, he comes up to me and he said, "Sean, I just didn't believe that." Oh my God, you might as well just slit my throat open. I mean, I was like, so every moment on screen from that one on, I took so seriously. You know, there's, even though it's a goofy thing with wizards and orcs and everything else, it's important that you can believe it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to disappoint him. I think that's one of the best things you can say about a filmmaker is if you want to do well, you look to them, not just for approval, but you want to give them what they want. And if you're giving them what you want, then you feel like your life has meaning, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, that was, everyone on the set just wanted to please him, really, because he was such a nice fella. I mean, I was nearly in Lord of the Rings.
Sam?
No, Bilbo Baggins.
Oh, yeah.
They got down to 2 actors over a year. They kept whittling away, and I was one of them. And the other was, what's his name?
The other one.
Ian Howe.
That guy. I don't know, Sir something.
Sir.
Are you knighted yet?
Eh? No.
Why not?
Be knighted.
United. I'm a knighted. Hold on, I should like you.
I'm a Republican. Not an American Republican, I may add.
Can we talk politics? I'm so dying to talk politics.
I believe in, Republicanism. So, I mean, I don't think we should have kings and queens. They've got a king now.
I know a lot of guys who said that until they were asked.
Really? Yeah, well, no, I've been asked.
You will be.
No.
That time will come. You know Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, for a long time,
said no.
Well, no, he didn't say no, he wasn't asked.
All right.
And then he was finally asked right at the end of his life.
Yeah, and he dropped dead.
Yeah. We had something like that in America. Bush started, the first Bush,
Yeah.
Poppy Bush, 41 they call him, he started a thing called the 1,000 Points of Light. And they would pick individuals from the country that they thought
spread some light.
Yeah, and he was my mother. My mother was one of them. She disagreed with his politics completely, but they picked her as one of the 1,000 points light. I think that's what the knighthood has become, really, right?
Yeah.
There are some movies that they are instant classics. You know, do you think that Lord of the Rings will be one of those movies that in 50 years hence will still be one of those classics? And think so, and why?
What's Lord of the Rings?
The Hobbit, whatever you want.
It's weird that they're the prequels to The Hobbit when The Hobbit was a prequel to the...
Yes.
There's no question. There's no question that it will. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece that will stand as long as there's film. And I got to be in it. Shh, don't tell anyone.
And I didn't!
Oh, so close. So close.
By one heartbeat!
What we do, we couldn't do with Radagast in that one. It would have been too sweet.
No, I was going to be Bilbo Baggins.
Right, in that, yeah.
That would have been him. But anyway, I'll tell you what. They used my hair. Ian Holmes' wig was the same style of hair as I had. My hair was black and all over the place. I said, Jesus, I never got the film, but my hair did.
People don't realize, but every single character, I think in all 6 films, is wearing a wig.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one character that is wearing their own hair. Maybe some of the humans that are being, like from Rohan, you know, there's a helicopter shot of the humans being led to Rohan. Maybe some of theirs is their own hair. But I'm pretty sure, at least at the major...
I think Martin Freeman, I'm not sure if that was his hair.
That had to be a wig. I'd be willing to bet a big pint.
Everyone hated him because he was only in makeup for 5 minutes.
I know. He was clever. He was clever.
So had either of you ever worked in New Zealand before? And what was that experience like?
I'd worked there at a conventions before. I toured in with, what's his name, Bigfoot tall fella, Serene...
Bilbo.
No,
Gandalf.
Serene Gandalf. I did King Lear, the tour of King Lear with him.
Did you?
He was Lear and I was his fool. And with our Shakespeare Company, we toured the world. And we ended up going there, and that's what I met.
Ian McKellen.
I met Mr. Jackson and his family, because we all went to New Zealand.
I love that you did that. That is incredible. Was he out?
Oh, he was out all night. It was great. We went into Singapore. We toured into Singapore, and of course it's illegal. I think you get your head chopped off, your willy chopped off, and everything else chopped off. But anyway, he was on breakfast television, you know, all comfortable on the couch. And at the end of the interview, they said, what are you looking forward to doing in Singapore, Sir Ian? And Sir Ian said, I'm looking forward to finding the gay club. Breakfast television. Singapore had a nervous breakdown. And then all of us, the whole cast, we all went to this gay club. And these guys were on the roof screaming. It was amazing. It was just quite wonderful.
He took us as well. We've been in Wellington 8 months, and you know, we've done Wellington, and then Ian decides to take us all out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and you walk in and you think, I was with my wife.
Yes.
But I almost went gay because these guys were so perfect looking. You know, you just think, can I touch them? But you're not allowed to. You could, but you shouldn't, really.
No.
Yeah, but Ian was so like that. It's fun. He likes to have fun.
Yeah, he does. Very much so. It's great fun.
Hi, I have a question for Sylvester and one for you both. One is, at HobbitCon 2 years ago, you were running around the panel room.
I'm not guilty. It wasn't my fault.
No, I know, it was Sebastian's fault. Yes, my question was, how do you find the energy to run around all day answering questions and like all fans following you like little ducklings?
Yes. A lot of people won't know really, because if we weren't there, what do you mean really? Should I explain? I sometimes go off into the audience and get, you know, instead of that pretty lady there with the red, I do it with the audience. Yeah. And then we were in a big place, and I started wandering around, and people queued up behind me to ask questions. So we had this, you know, crocodile all the way over
the Pied Piper.
Yeah, I was the Pied Piper really, and it was great fun. It was a laugh. Anyway, that explains that. So what's your question?
Stephen Hunter, who plays Bumper in The Hobbit,
Yes.
is doing a YouTube series of the actor talks about themselves, and he's giving acting advice and sharing his own experiences on YouTube. And he has actors over like every week to do an interview with them. Like Jet Brophy was last week.
Yes.
And I was wondering, is it something like the one of you, or maybe the two of you, would consider ever like doing? Like sharing your advice, your experiences maybe on YouTube or on other social media?
I think I've said yes to him. He sent me an email, I think.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I'm just getting past pigeon post. But something arrived somewhere, and he asked me to do something, and I said yes. But then I say yes to everything.
Yeah, you should really do it. It's
Good
a
job,
great
I'm
series.
real trouble.
It's a good success strategy, except for the ladies.
Yes, I said. Good, yeah.
I tell my daughter, say no, you say no. But no, the question is like, where do you put your body in space and time? You know, you make friends easily. Actors make friends easily. You show up, and within a moment, you're family. And then 3 months later, or after a world, I can't imagine what it's like after a world tour on a play to sort of farewell each other and go do the next thing. It's kind of heartbreaking, really. But when friends do something, you try to be involved if you can.
Yeah, no, you try and help out. But I mean, it's a great thing. We are a tribe, I think, actors. I think we are actually our own funny little race. Because everywhere you go, I've been to places.
A race.
Yeah, a race in a way.
Yeah.
Every time I go to another country and you meet people who don't even speak the same language, but as soon as they say, "Ich bin ein Schauspieler," you go, "Wow!" And then you go off and get drunk and become friends, and it's great. Same in Japan, everywhere. I don't know if we've answered your question. You have.
This lady back there.
I'd like to meet you both. I have a question for Sylvester. What's like working with special effects on both on Datum and Hobbit?
Well, it was great. I mean, did you have blue screen and green screen when you were...
All kinds of screens,
Yes.
no screens at all.
All right, well, lots of screens, but...
But at a certain point, they just gave up with the screens and we just filmed stuff and they put it in on top of it. But they had all kinds of screens.
Well, we spent a lot of time on green screen in The Hobbit. But I was used to working with that because way back, the first TV series I did was called Vision On, and it was blue screen then, and that had just arrived. And we played with it, we invented, we had great fun. There was 7 of me on the screen once, and we were exploring all the wonderful things you could do with it. So I fell in love with it. But when I arrived in New Zealand, Ian had been filming for about 3 months, the opening bit. And when I arrived, he went, "Oh, thank God you are here." He said, "Because I've been working with green screen, and I hate it." He was at one end of the studio, and there was little photographs of all the dwarfs and little lights, and in his ear was a speaker, and they were at the other end of the studio in the set, and for months he was just talking to those little lights, and the first time he did it, he wept. They hated it because he said, "Oh, I've been an actor for all these years," all that shit. Anyway, and he hated doing it. So when I arrived,
Peter gets a clever idea on how to maybe try something differently, and then everybody's at the business end of his idea trying to make it happen. Yeah.
But when I arrived, he knew that we had scenes together. We were in the same world. So he knew I wasn't going to be on a green screen somewhere else. We were actually so pleased to see me. I must say, some nights in King Lear, he didn't seem so pleased. But never mind, that's another story.
Mate, I've got 3 daughters, so I'm all in that play.
Yes, have you? Oh, well, don't divide your kingdom up.
Which one's going to look after me? That's
That's the one.
Hello. Also filmmakers are very interested in the process of what's your experiences in making both films, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and especially working with Peter Jackson, because I'm a great fan of both series, especially Lord of the Rings, but I'm very curious in, because the visual effects are a big part of the story, but the performances are also top-notch in every movie. Can you tell me a little bit what's the secret to keep you all sharp on the set and also be such a technical director? Because it's a hell of a job.
I think that if the filmmaker is oriented to getting great performances, the actors are always ready. You know, if getting the special effects takes all your attention and all your focus and all your energy and all the money, and you don't make it, and the filmmaker doesn't make it a priority to have those intimate moments or to play scenes or to rehearse the scenes so that you discover them, or to have, as we did, rehearsals before we started filming to talk about the ideas and to work with the writers to get the language to make sense to you, then you won't have that. But when the filmmaker's oriented to do that, the actors, you know, if you're in a puppet show or on a green screen or on a $300 million, you know, set or on the top of a mountain, we're doing the same thing the whole time. It's really up for the filmmaker to try to protect that.
Yes.
I can imagine it was totally different for you, because you had a lot of sets and pictures and everything, and for Sylvester it's almost all green screen, right? In which you're acting out.
Yes, a lot of it was green screen. Although they built a huge forest for me in this big place. And so I got to run around my own forest, which was great.
That's cool.
And
It looked like it. It looked like it.
Yeah, it's great fun.
It's your forest.
Yeah, it was my forest, it was. But yeah, green screen, as I said before, I'd worked with it when it first came in. And I enjoyed working with it, so for me it wasn't a problem. I knew where I was, and I've got a visual, I can see, you know, what's happening.
I know exactly
Some
what you
people
mean.
can't, but I can see.
I remember watching the Star Wars behind the scenes footage when I was a kid, and seeing how, and then with the Jurassic Park behind the scenes footage with the tennis ball and people looking at the, you know, follow the tennis ball, that's the dinosaur. And I remember thinking when I saw it, those are groundbreaking, you know, wonderful, really, you know, industry determining movies. But I kept thinking, oh, they look like they're looking at the tennis ball. So when I showed up, I really liked, like he's saying, seeing the Balrog. I didn't look at a tennis ball to see the Balrog, I could see the Balrog. And there was one time after doing press for the first film, and the first film came out and it was nominated for Academy Awards and all the other awards and award shows and dressing up and photo shoots and magazines and newspaper interviews, and you know, it just goes on and on and on. And then we found ourselves back in New Zealand for the second film doing additional photography, him fighting Shelob the spider. And I remember we did a take and Peter came up and he's like, you know, talking to me, and we did another take and he came up and he's talking to me, and I said, Peter, I can't see the spider. He said, what do you mean? I said, you know, I was like, I couldn't not be aware for a little bit of all the extra stuff that happened around it, instead of going back into the world of the story and being there, because it was filmed differently. It was like a proscenium set like this. I don't know, it was weird, but ultimately I saw the spider. So there you go.
So you won the award for the best acting with a tennis ball award. There should be one, shouldn't there? Especially nowadays, because we all now are acting with tennis balls.
Well, this is a terrible story for any performer to hear, but we were shooting a sequence on Weathertop. The Weathertop is when you really first see the ring wraiths kind of, you know, moving towards you with their swords and their ominous progression, and they get up and they sting Frodo in the shoulder. And at a certain point, you get these big guys around, and Elijah's laying on the ground, and then Sam afterwards comes rushing up to, you know, say, Frodo, are you okay? Frodo, whatever. And they could barely get the camera into the little nook where Frodo was looking back, and Elijah was trying to squeeze his head in. And I remember saying, like, no, it's all right, just give me the tape. Let me just look at the tape. Like, oh, it's terrible. Because most actors, you want to perform opposite a human being. But at that moment, give me the tape.
Actually, funny enough, I was doing a scene with Ian, and it was very complicated. We had a horse, and the horse, I think, thought it was the star. Because every time it said action, it looked into the camera and smiled, and all those kind of things. It would move, and you know, it was saying a big line, and suddenly his face was there, and there was all that going on. It was quite tense. And then Ian had finished, and he could have gone away. Ian could have gone, and someone else could have gone behind the camera and read his lines, as you say. You do that a lot. You don't necessarily, as a film actor, ever have to work with another actor if you don't want to.
At least not in your close-ups.
Yes. And so, you get stand-ins for the big, anyway. But Ian always was there. He was always there. And it was great. I love that about him. And then when you got it right...
He's a professional.
Yeah.
So that's a real professional quality.
He'd feed you...
There were times with us we were filming on, 8 or 9 different sets around Wellington at any given time. And, if they had this group setting up a shot for 2.5 hours and they were waiting for you, and you wanted to do your off-camera work for somebody else, they'd say, listen, this crew's going to go home not having gotten their shot. So we spent a lot of time wishing that we could be there opposite the other person, but physically, the way they structured it, you sort of couldn't. So you had to get over the need,
No, we just accept it. I mean, I've done it. Well, we've both been at it for quite a long time, and you just accept that's part of the job. It's a technical side of the job. You just talk to the tape.
Talk to the tape.
Yes.
Okay, next question.
Could you move your mic?
Could you give us your rendition of Bilbo Baggins?
Sorry?
Could you give us your rendition of Bilbo Baggins?
Oh yes. Could I tell you the story?
Could you do Bilbo Baggins? Because there was a bit of the other guy, Ian Holmes, got the part, but I was really curious about your version of Bilbo Baggins. Could you do?
You mean what was it when his interpretation of the character was wildly different?
Bilbo Baggins and your interpretation of Sauron.
Mine of Sauron?
Yeah.
Dude. I am Sauron.
Well, I mean, it was 12. How many years ago was it? 13, 14? 16 years ago. And it was a year before they made the film. And I went along and I did a screen test, and then they quite liked it, obviously, for a while. And then Ian Holm wasn't working that week when he got the job and I didn't. But I mean, I don't know. I would have... give me the
your own hair.
I would have come with my own hair. I would have saved them a fortune. Because that guy...
No, it's funny because all the costumes had already been designed. All the prosthetics had already been designed. So in a sense, anybody could have played Samwise. Do you know what I mean? Anybody my height, my body build, could have played Samwise. Just, I got lucky enough to get that part, and so you put your heart and your soul and your energy into it. I mean, even the dialect, we had 2 dialect coaches.
Dialects, they were in mine. Oh, that was the other one. I can't hear in here, the noise is so bad. It was really difficult to recreate my Bilbo Baggins. It would have been like me.
Spastic.
Spastic, fantastic, spastic.
Can you just say Dalit again? Everybody wants to hear you say Dalit.
Dalit. Radagast.
It's that easy to get around in those. Next question. Okay, mate.
Was it true that all the members of the fellowship got a tattoo of a knife?
I didn't hear the last word. Yes, it's true that the members of the fellowship got a tattoo. Mine's on my ankle. Everyone had it in a different spot. But I didn't hear the last word you said. What did you say? 9, yeah. It's 9 spelled out in elf script. N-I-N-E. It looks like it could be Hebrew or Arabic, or it's a very cool little thing. Sorry, you guys. To me, listening to all that sound makes me want to kill somebody. So I'm so sorry that it's like that.
I guess I'd like you to complain to somebody about, you paid extra money as well for this they shouldn't do it, it's wrong.
I got an idea. On the count of 3, let's all yell, be quiet. 1, 2, 3. Be quiet!
And when Sylvester's complained to somebody, not me,
it didn't work.
Someone else.
It didn't work.
Okay, next question.
Yeah. Hello? Sean, I'd like to ask if you could say potatoes.
Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew with a nice piece of fried fish. It's amazing to be famous for that. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I could have been famous for carrots, rutabagas, but no, it's potatoes that have done it for me.
It's rice pudding. Yeah. One of my speeches ended up saying to the Emperor of the Daleks, oh yes, and rice pudding, lots and lots of rice pudding.
Awesome. Pudding. That's English.
Pudding. That's
pudding.
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 And Sylvester?
You got all 3 of these girls here. Oh, more.
Could you say these are resting rabbits?
These are Roscobel rabbits. I'd like to see them try. Actually, after a while, when I did it so many times, I said, these are Roscommon rabbits, I'd like to see them fry. Upstaging little blackouts. Listen, when I got the part, for the first opening, oh my God, I had a whole scene of me and that stuffed animals. I thought, this is marvelous. On that screen, the biggest thing in that cinema for that moment of time. I go in and I watch it. I'm sitting there, and the Wizards of Weta, they take these little hedgehogs and they turn into the sweetest little, everyone's weeping, they put a hedgehog. No one's looking at me. The freaking hedgehog upstaged me. I hate it. I wish I'd killed it in the first place. And the rabbits.
That's the Sylvester we know. That's better. Have we got a question
I
there?
don't even know what I saw it. I loved it. I don't remember a hedgehog.
Oh yeah, no, I saved the hedgehog's life called Samuel.
Yeah, I remember a wizard saving something, but I don't remember what it was. It was a wizard story.
It was a hedgehog.
Dumb hedgehog.
Upstaging hedgehog.
So I've got a question for Sean. So being a part of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, what do you think about the Hobbit trilogy? So how it was made?
The Hobbit trilogy. Well, let me tell you what I think about the Hobbit trilogy. Great casting. I like, I read the Hobbit book, and I remember going to Peter Jackson and asking him early in Lord of the Rings if he was going to make the Hobbit, and he said no. I said, why not? He said, there's not enough story to fill up one whole movie.
I know, it's extraordinary, really.
So, I remember going to see it. At first I didn't like that the tone of it was the same tone as Lord of the Rings, that it was that they were creating a similar world. But when the dwarves started singing and breaking plates, I felt home again. Yeah. And by the second one, they felt like it was their own movie. I felt like they were away from the story, and I actually thought it was kind of liberating. Like the one she-elf character in the second one, what's her character's name? Tariel. Yeah, badass. Where was she in our movie? We can use the extra help. Anyhow, it's a good 6. I haven't seen it yet, but the 6-episode set, a box set with all 6 movies. I don't know why we haven't been signing those yet.
Oh really? Are they out?
Should be, right? 5 Armies has been out a year or 2, right? 3, something like that. So yeah, we're all part of the same family. People would ask what my favorite of the Lord of the Rings movies is, and we filmed them as one movie. And now, a decade on, to me, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, they're all part of the same world, really.
Yeah.
So I love them.
A question for you both. What is the most memorable scene you have filmed in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? The most memorable scene, the scene that you still think of today, that you filmed?
Well, memory is interesting. It changes over time, I've noticed. Is that true for you?
I can't remember.
I know. I think now I remember the moments that people in conventions feed back to me the most. The Two Towers was finished, and then 9/11 happened, and they went back and found the speech about good and evil, and that they gave to Samwise. Actually, they gave it to different characters, and they settled on Samwise. And so we went back and filmed it. There's some good left in this world, Mr. It's like in the Great Tales, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really matter, Frodo, the stories that belong to chance. That riff was not in there. And, carrying Frodo, my daughter was in the last of the third films, everywhere. It's an impossible question, I hate you.
Well, the one that jumps to my mind was, again, I was doing green screen, and I was on the sledge. I was hanging on like this, and they put it on a big rubber ring, and then everywhere was green down there, and there was little green men all dressed in green, and they had the sledge, and they were making it shake, and so I was hanging on like grim death, and they said double takes. I was doing double takes like this, and then they said, the cameraman said, we want to get a really good shot underneath, so because underneath all the green carpet was padding. Anyway, they decided to take away the padding because they couldn't get the camera low enough, and then they got the shot they wanted, and then they put all the carpet back, and then they forgot to put back the padding, and what do you think happens? I fell. I was on, and they said, do a double take, and bigger, bigger, and I flew off backwards, and I was quite high up, and I flew, and my bum hit the ground. I could feel it, and then my head actually touched the ground, and I could feel my brain moving in my skull. But just at that time, thank God we were in New Zealand, a rugby player dived and saved my head. That was the one I remember, because he saved my head. Because I didn't actually get knocked out or killed or whatever it was. So that's the one I remember. Every time I see it on screen, I go, ooh.
I got injured a lot. I was the injury guy. The ignominious one was sitting in Rivendell, the elf paradise, and I was just sitting off by myself with a copy of the book, and the wind picked up, and it took up a piece of set dressing. There was an elven loom, big, massive elven loom, but they thought it would be nice to have it on 4 little points, very delicate little points. Well, it was top heavy, and the wind blew it over, and it hit me in the head and knocked me out cold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No rugby player saved me that day.
I'm sorry about that. They were winning the World Cup.
They were. Bledisloe Cup. That was the big one down there. The Bledisloe Cup.
We've got time for just one more question. So.
Well, there were 3 girls over here that seemed kind of like the horsewomen of the apocalypse, but
just grab anyone. We can't decide for you, really, because we can hardly see, we can hardly hear.
Just pick one, doesn't matter.
Tempest Future.
Okay.
I think we should all yell out the questions at once.
And we just answer. We'll just give an answer to something. You can't hear it.
Hi, I just have a question. If you could go back in time and do things over again, and you could pick any character you would play, who would you play?
Bilbo, right?
Bilbo, yes. That's the guy.
When I was first, they offered me Sam, or they didn't offer me. It was decided that I would be trying for Sam, and I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings. And I said, well, are we sure Sam is the right character? And they said, yeah. So I started reading it, and I said, well, Aragorn seems pretty cool. And they said, yeah, no. But there would be no other character in the world, not just in Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit trilogy, but in any movie ever depicted on screen or television or in a kabuki theater besides Samwise Gamgee. Samwise Gamgee is the greatest character ever rendered in literature.
And I think on that note, we will end it there. Please put your hands together once again for Sylvester McCoy and Sean Astin.
Hey everybody, we're going to meet at my house right after the show, so it's quiet and we can really talk.
We zijn vandaag hier op de allereerste editie van Amsterdam Comic Con, georganiseerd door Showmasters. Achter ons kun je de hele rij zien met allemaal artiesten en acteurs die hier komen. Peter Mayhew is aanwezig. Ik heb, wie heb ik nog meer gezien?
James Marsters natuurlijk.
Oh ja, tuurlijk. James, ja, Angel natuurlijk. Heb jij nog iemand gezien die jij zei van wauw, die is er?
Nee, ja, je hebt ze al opgenoemd inderdaad. Ray Park en Peter Mayhew, die zie ik daar nu ook zitten, dus ja.